What is going on, everybody? I am back today to do a very different kind of video than I normally do, but I think that this is incredibly poignant and very pertinent to the society that we live in currently. And I also think that the ramifications that situations like this will have on media and as art as a whole, it's really important to discuss these topics in a really open environment and have discussions and be thoughtful about these things. And this is all surrounding the newest debut episode of South Park that was released. If you are unfamiliar with South Park, you've probably been living under a rock. It's been on television for quite some time, created by Trey Parker and Matt Stone. And for years and years and years, it's been incredibly poignant politically. It's covered a lot of really pivotal societal issues. And one of the things about Trey Parker and Matt Stone is they have never been afraid to go after anyone throughout their entire careers. They have pushed a lot of buttons, they've pissed a lot of people off, and they're very intelligent and incredibly funny human beings. And yesterday, the new episode of their season of TV has aired, and this came shortly after they signed a very large contract with Paramount to take over sole streaming rights of the show. And this came just shortly after Paramount, who also is the parent company of CBS, canceled Stephen Colbert's late night television show, which is one of the more popular late night television shows. And there's been all this discussion about Stephen Colbert being canceled because of the fact that he is very anti Trump. He is vehemently anti Trump. He speaks out on him consistently. He talks about a lot of issues in a really open format to where he's not afraid to kind of tackle those hot button issues. And while Paramount is saying it's a financial issue, with the way Trump has been approaching media outlets, just today when I'm recording this video, he made a statement calling CNN and other news networks illegal. Like he really wants to have, I think he wants a state mandated media where it's just like his people being the vocal mouthpieces and there's no like neutral or other side reporting on these issues, and that it's just streamlined straight from his people. But regardless of all that, you have all of these things going on. And so Trey and Matt signed this enormous deal with Paramount, and they released this new episode. And if you haven't seen the episode yet, I would highly recommend going and watching it. But the entire episode was a condemnation of Paramount. It was a mockery of Trump. It was making fun of him for being in the Epstein documents. It was making fun of him for being just a babbling idiot. It was a mockery of how society is shifting way more conservative since he's taking office. Schools kind of backing down. There was a ton of really poignant political matter kind of thrown throughout the episode. But more than anything, the idea of bringing Jesus into the episode to say, "Hey, watch your ass, they're coming for you. Like he'll cancel you or he'll sue you if you say what he doesn't like." And I think things like this are, to me, as someone who went to film school, someone who loves art and media, this is one of the major reasons media exists. And I've had a lot of really intense conversations with people about this recently. I think film and television is such a brilliant art form to educate people and make them think more and to open your minds to issues that you might not necessarily think about. And one of the things about television shows like South Park, which, for years and years have kind of looked at whatever's going on societally or politically and kind of poking at it and willing to sort of dissect it in a way that can be overblown comedically, but that can also be very thoughtful. I think it's really important for creators right now to be utilizing their platform to attack back at an administration that wants us to live in a fascist authoritarian regime. Trump does not want freedom of speech. And if you believe that he does, you're a moron. He's entirely through his political career thus far done nothing but silence people. He doesn't want kids to read books about the civil rights movement. He wants to take away media involving LGBTQ individuals. He's literally trying to use his entire platform to silence people and push a white Christian agenda to the United States of America. And I think more than anything, a wealthy white Christian agenda. And so to have two creators who have been kind of in the cultural zeitgeist for a really long time that have not been afraid to kind of poke fun, to not only like go at him in a way that like the mockery in this episode, it is humiliating. It is truly like showing him for what a coward and buffoon and true moron that he is, and just kind of looking at it in the lens of like, this guy doesn't care about you. He sees you as a sheep. He sees you as someone who can just keep him in power, that can avoid him from being in horrible legal trouble. Because as we're seeing right now in the cultural landscape, he has been told by his Department of Justice that he's in the Epstein Files, which if you have any kind of, attachment to media or have been paying attention for the past however many years, he's in there. They were buddy buddies. There are more pictures of him with Epstein than there are with his own family. And so you're seeing, and if you can't see who this guy really is, I truly don't know what to tell you. He is truly one of the biggest scumbags and most horrible individuals that's ever lived on the planet. And so to have these guys that have this position of power where they have a platform, they can create content that can speak out on that platform, especially when you're seeing things like Stephen Colbert being taken off the air for being very public and vocal about that. And you have other talk show hosts right now and people in the media that are not afraid to speak out against him. But this is the first time in history where we're seeing a president get upset about being criticized openly. Like, you think a show like SNL has constantly throughout the years poked at every sitting president and political figure and pop culture icon, and he gets incredibly frustrated when they do that. And he mouths off on his social media and acts like, he is above it all. And there's no way that anyone could ever question what he's doing, or, kind of throw punches at him in a way that makes sense. And I think what's interesting is, in this conversation of like authoritarian fascist regime, when you look at something like, when Hitler took over, Hitler's entire premise was to strip media and culture from people, to eliminate the acquiring of knowledge so that you could not learn or study anything other than the agenda that he was pushing towards you, and then push hate to people, because that's what this guy is. All he does is push hate and vitriol to groups of people and tell you that you shouldn't like this people. Like, it's all buzzwords, right? Like, when he talks about immigrants, even though he worked for a business that literally employed so many Hispanic people, and like throughout the years, the amount of like people that have worked for his company that are immigrants, it's just mind-boggling to me. But he switched at this period in his life to just using like criminals and rapists and thugs, and that's, he uses all these trigger words so that his people that don't read and that don't pay any attention to anything other than the conspiracy theories that are shared with their aunts and uncles on Facebook, that they can feed these words into there and indoctrinate these people into believing that anything that he says is true, like nothing else could be factual. And I think it's really interesting. I listened to an interview with Ari Aster recently when he was talking about Eddington, about the concept of universal truth, and then that there was a period in time in this culture where right, left, whoever you are, there were elements of society that felt like universal truth. Like, you could say a statement like water is wet, and every person on the planet could agree with you. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. That thought process and that mentality, it is no more. We don't have common ground like that anymore, because he can take something so crazy and off the wall and just ridiculous and make people believe it. And they believe it because it is a cult. It is people worshiping an idol. He is not a political figure. That's why with this whole Epstein thing, when people are saying, oh, if you're on the left, what if Bill Clinton's in the Epstein files? What if these, put him in jail? The thing about this whole situation is, you should never idolize a political figure. They are put in office to serve you and to do things for you. That's why you vote a politician into office. They are not your God. They are not your savior. They don't dictate every facet of your life. They are meant to be there to serve you as the person, not to be some Christ-like figurehead that you wear merchandise of and worship like they're a deity. And I love that creators like Trey Parker and Matt Stone are willing to just go at this guy with like no stops. Like, go at him 110% and show him who he really is, because that's what people need to do. He is a bully. He is mean. He hates people, and he's not willing to bully people down. And the best thing that you can do with people like that is put them in their place. And I think that, like, the biggest issue with the left and the Democratic Party right now is they're silent. They don't push back. They don't do anything. And as funny as it might sound that a television episode is going to really hit hard in the media, I think this is going to really, like, upset some people. And I think that it's going to really move the thread and really do something interesting when it comes to media as a whole and censorship in media. And what is he going to do now at this point? Is he going to try to go after Paramount? Is he going to try to do any of these little things to censor this episode from being seen by more people? And I just thought that this issue as a whole, as someone who consumes a lot of media and who I've learned so much from film and television, because the thing is, you can learn a lot from reading, you can learn a lot from listening to music, but you can also learn a lot from consuming art, because art exists to share in your thoughts and feelings and opinions and ideas on the world. And so I think it's really crazy that a comedic animated television show on Comedy Central can make such a big splash and frustrate that, because he is losing his mind about this situation. He is beyond frustrated. He has been publicly humiliated, which he should be. He should be completely and totally ashamed that he even exists. But I think that it's really incredible that these guys, after all of this stuff going on in the cultural landscape, would air an episode that's so damning of not just the president of the United States, but the network that they just signed to stream all of their property. And that's truly like a very punk rock attitude to have. And I really want to see this from more artists. I would like to see more celebrities and people with positions of power speak out, because there is no room for fascism in America. There is no room for authoritarianism. This is a country that is supposed to be based on the principles of the freedom of speech and a free democracy, and people coming together to vote and push issues that we can try to agree on, and that we can try to build on this place and make it better for all people, not just some people, which is what they'll tell you. This world, for the right wingers and the conservatives, it only exists for a certain few, not for everyone, which is not the fundamentals and principles that this country was based on. This was supposed to be a place for every living individual that comes here. It was supposed to be a safe space where you could practice your religion, whatever that might be, where you could have a family, whatever the color of your skin is, who you are, that you can be here, you can live, you can thrive and achieve whatever fucked up perception of the American dream is at that period in time. But regardless, I think it's really interesting to see these guys in this type of a position be able to create this piece of art that has just kind of shaken things up so much in just a day's time. And I know I'm kind of rambling about some different issues right now, but these are things. I'm someone, if you've been watching me for quite some time, I don't affiliate myself with a political party, but I am incredibly progressive. I'm very left leaning when it comes to human rights issues, when it comes to the issues of marginalized groups of people. I will always stand firm and support those groups. I support education. I support knowledge. I support learning. I support growth, acceptance, and love to your fellow human being. And I think that the current political administration is the antithesis of all of those ideas. I think they're fundamentally evil. I think that they are consistently working to make this world a nightmare for anyone who is middle or lower class, or a person of color, or a member of the queer community, or anyone that is not wealthy or white. And I really would like to see a big change in this place, because I think that it deserves to be a better place for people to feel safe and have a family and to be able to pursue life and just enjoy and appreciate things like movies and art, and be able to just get through the day and survive without your life being threatened because your skin color is different, or you identify as a different sexual orientation than someone else. And I think these are incredibly poignant issues to be discussing. I think in the current landscape, especially in the United States of America, it's important to keep having these conversations, keep having these open discussions. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit today, and I really appreciate you listening.